paper. I prefer like construction paper, just any paper without the lines. I mean, if you use paper with the lines, it's not going to make a difference, but I just find it easier to do it without the lines. So you take a piece of paper, and what you want to do is you want to sketch out the letters for your hat. So my clothing line is Abnormal Clothing, and you see my hat say Abnormal on them. So what you want to do is sketch out your logo name. I'm going to sketch out Abnormal. Now, if you are not the best at making lettering, honestly, I'm not the best, but it works out for me. But if you're not the best at lettering, I would suggest going on Google and finding you a letter template, print it out, cut the letters out, and then you can sit the cutouts on top of the fabric and cut out the shapes or lettering on the fabric. So that's how you do that. I'm gonna be right back. I'm about to finish drawing this out, and then I'll let you guys know when I'm done. I'm gonna speed it up a little bit. Okay, so as you can see, I have my letters sketched out. I did it with pencil, so it's very faint. You might not be able to see it as well, but I sketched out Abnormal lettering with my pencil. As you can see, it's not perfect. It's not perfect. It's not perfect. In my opinion, I have lots of experience with like cutting fabric, so the reason why I don't care for it to be perfect is because I know that I'm gonna when I cut it out in the fabric, it's gonna look exactly how it's supposed to be. So you can sketch out your lettering, print out your lettering, and cut it out whichever way. Either way it go, we're making stencils so that we can place on top of the fabric and cut that shape or lettering out on the fabric. Let me get my fabric together. I'll be right back. Now what you want to do is cut out each and every letter or shape that you have drawn out on your paper. So I'm gonna do that right now. Okay, I'm back. I cut out all of my letters. Now, in the name Abnormal, there is 2 A's. If you have a repeating letter in whatever you're trying to put on your hats, and this is not a method just for hats. You can do this with jeans. You can do this with shirts. You can put lettering and symbols and shapes. You can do this with anything. I'm just making hats. If you have more than one of the letter in the name, like Abnormal has 2 A's, you only have to cut out one out of 2 of the A's, if you get what I'm saying. So you don't have to cut out 2 of the same letter because you already have 1. So what you would do is you would just take this A and you would just cut out 2 A's with this stencil. You would just cut out 2 A's on top of the fabric. I'm gonna show you how to do all that, but I'm just like briefly explaining to you that you don't have to cut out more than 1 letter. You don't have to cut out more than 1 of the same letter. Like I'm trying my best to like explain this, but y'all get what I'm trying to say. Don't play dumb. So yeah, I cut my letters out, and next I'm gonna put my stuff to the side, but I highly, highly, highly recommend you guys to throw your scraps away as you work. Me, I don't do that, but don't be like me in that area, because at the end, I have this big, gigantic mess to clean up, and I'm just like, it's very overwhelming, and I still do it. Okay, so your next step is picking out your fabric. This is the fabric of my choice. Now be careful with this Sherpa. It's called Sherpa fabric, or faux sheet fabric, however you say that F word, F-A-U-X, however you say that word. This is that. Now, you have to be careful. If you want to use the same material that I use, the Sherpa fabric, first of all, it's hard to find in different colors. So, for instance, I've only been able to find neutral colors in this fabric. The most vibrant color I was able to find is like a lime green and like a pink. But if you're looking for like red or like, you know, vibrant colors like blue, you 9 times out of 10 you're not going to find it. And this fabric is a pain to dye. So don't even try to sit up here and dye this type of fabric because it's not going to take no color. I done tried every method to dye this fabric and it never comes out how it should. So today my color choices are white and gray. These are my color choices. Choose whichever colors you want, but just know the colors are very limited. You can also use knit fabric. I got this fabric at my local Joann fabric store. So whichever area you live in, just type in on Google fabric stores. I recommend Joann's. They have a Joann's fabric pretty much everywhere. Honestly, this fabric is very, very affordable. So if you want to make this for your brands, you will make a good profit off of this because the fabric is very, very, very affordable. At the time I was employed at Joann's when I first started making these, and when I bought all of my fabric, I was actually employed at Joann's, and they have an amazing discount on fabrics, an amazing discount. So I got this fabric for very, very, very little penny. So anyway, you want to pick out your fabric. I choose white and gray. And the next step you're going to do is you're going to figure out what color you're going to use for your lettering and what color you're going to use for the actual hat. So me, I'm going to use this white, like the hat I got on. I'm going to use this white for the lettering and then the gray for the actual hat color. So what I'm going to do is, now this fabric, you have to be careful buying it. Like I said, there's several different types. This fabric, I'm going to show you how the back looks. The back is like bare and this has a stretch to it. I recommend you using the Sherpa fabric if you're going to use this fabric, or whichever fabric you use. If it's for a hat, I highly, highly, highly recommend you use a fabric that can stretch. Yeah, it can be a two-way stretch or a four-way stretch. A two-way stretch is when it stretches from here to here. A four-way stretch is when you can stretch it horizontally and that way as well. Whatever, however. Yo, I'm trying my best to use the correct terminology and not talking slang. So please, it's a journey. This is a journey we're going to take together, okay? So don't. See, that's why I'm talking. Yo, I'm trying to be so professional, but like, stuff be happening to you, girl. Anyway, so yeah, a four-way stretch is when it stretches both ways. A two-way stretch is when it only stretches one way. That's simple terminology. We're going to use that. So this is a two-way stretch fabric, as you can see. Now, if I stretch it this way, it's going to be very tight. Be careful using two-way stretch fabrics, especially for hats, because if you do not cut your fabric out in the right direction, it's going to be a humongous possibility that the hat will not fit anybody because it's not gonna be able to stretch and fit the head. You want to always choose a stretch fabric when you're making hats because everyone has different head shapes. You know, my head shape, I got a big head, you know what I'm saying? And then I be wearing braids and stuff like that. So I need that extra room. You want to give people that has hair that extra room. You want to give people that has a larger head that extra grace, you know what I'm saying? So make sure you're cutting this way and not this way. But for the lettering, it really doesn't matter. And honestly, for the lettering, I kind of recommend you to cut the way that's not the stretchiest. Once again, if it's a four-way stretch fabric, it's okay. It's okay. It don't matter which way you cut the letters. But me personally, from my experience, and I've made over maybe 50, 60 hats handmade from scratch this past winter. I highly recommend you to cut the fabric whichever way that is not the stretchiest when it comes down to cutting the lettering, not the actual hat. I'm gonna say it one more time, slower. When you're cutting out the lettering or shapes or pattern for your hats, whatever you're making, make sure that you use the less stretchier side of the fabric. If you have a four-way stretch and it's stretchy always, don't panic. It's okay. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. You can still use that. But when cutting out the letters, if it's a two-way stretch fabric, use the less stretchier side. And you're going to find out later on in the video why it's best to use the less stretchier side while doing the letterings. So I'm going to find the less stretchy side, which is this way. And I'm going to just lay my fabric on a table in front of me. And I'm going to take each letter and sit each letter one at a time on the fabric and cut out. I'm going to copy my stencil and I'm going to cut out each and every lettering with these scissors right here. Honestly, these are shears from the hair store. Get some good scissors, because if you don't have good scissors, this whole process is going to be truly annoying, aggravating. So use some good scissors. Like I said, I'm using hair store shears. They work pretty good for me. I don't know. Honestly, it's cheaper than using fabric scissors, but fabric scissors are top tier. Mine broke, so that's why I'm using my shears, but these still work good as well. If you don't have good scissors, it's going to be an annoying process for you. So make sure you have some sharp, good scissors. So I'll be back. I'm going to cut out each and every letter on this fabric and I'm going to show you, okay? Okay, oh, ouch, just poked myself. Okay, we're back. Well, I'm back. I cut my letters out. As you can see, if you're going to use the Sherpa fabric, I'm going to tell you this now. When you cut your letters out, it is not going to look perfect. The lettering is not going to look perfect until you're done sewing the letters on the hat. So please don't panic. Like, look at my A. It looked like there's barely a hole in it. Look at my B. Remember that M, when I cut out the paper, this M right here that I broke the tail on, the leg on, look at this. Okay, I just cut another leg out on it. But look how it looked. It looked all fuzzy. This is another A. It looks a mess. I understand that. This is my O. Listen, don't panic, because after we sew these letters on, what we're gonna do is we're gonna give each and every one of these letters a haircut. We're going to trim it up so it's going to look nice, neat, and amazing. Next step, push this to the side like so. Okay, your next your next step is going to be to cut out the shape of your hat. I'm making, of course, like beanies. So here's the shape. Now, first, you want to take that construction paper right here that we have. This right here, another piece of paper. Something that's big enough to, I'm sorry, I don't have my microphone in, so you're going to hear some background noises, but get you a blank piece of paper that's big enough to fit the size of whatever you're trying to cut out. So if you're doing hats, a regular size paper should work, but if you're doing this with something else, you got to find poster board. I use anything. Like, I don't use pattern paper. I go to Dollar Tree, I get poster board, I get whatever is in my budget at the moment. Being a fashion designer, having a clothing line, or even if you want to make clothes for yourself, it's affordable until it's not. It can be affordable if you're just making things for yourself, if you're just making one, but I make multiple items. So throughout the years of recklessly spending my money on just whatever when it comes to this, I've learned that you cannot do that. You have to live within your means, and even if you have more than enough, you still kind of want to cut as much of the cost as you can. So I recommend going to Dollar Tree and getting those poster boards. Sometimes they come in threes, or going to Dollar Tree and getting you some construction paper, whichever you choose. Now, I do have a hack for cutting out larger shapes. Like, say if you want to make pants and you need to make a pattern. We'll talk about that in another video. Let's stick to the hats. I'm getting too excited because I'm going to drop some gems for y'all. And you know, it's sad because so many people gatekeep this simple information. And throughout my time of being a fashion designer and a seamstress, it has been a struggle for me. That's why I'm making these videos, because it has been a struggle for me, because I don't have a mentor. I don't have nobody to teach me nothing. I've worked at so many seamstress jobs, factory jobs where I'm doing production, and it'll be lots and lots of experienced people there that are like amazing at being a seamstress, being a sewer, a designer, and you know, they just wouldn't teach me anything. I had to learn all of this by myself, with the help of like certain creators on YouTube. But as far as like things like this, I had to just gradually make so many mistakes so that I can learn how to do it the right way. And that's why I'm here to show you guys how to make these hats and how to make everything. Okay, so just subscribe. Don't forget to like and subscribe and turn your post notifications on, because babe, I'm gonna have your closet laced with designer. Okay, laced with designer, babe. You ain't gotta keep on buying all that, these name brands that's charging you an arm and leg and it only cost them $5 to make the shirt. We're not doing that. This economy is horrible. So I'm gonna teach my girls and my guys how to ball on a budget and how to look like you're like your closet is just filled with so much designer clothing. You know what I'm saying? I'm here to teach you, okay, babe? So tune in, fashionistas. Let's get to it. Let's finish this hat. This is my shape. Now I have a hack. I know you're wondering, like, how do I figure out what size? Like, how do I do it? Babe, skip all of the extra steps that seamstress tell you to not skip when it comes to things like this. If you're making a hat, make it easy for yourself and buy you a beanie, or grab your favorite beanie out your closet. Find a beanie that has a good stretch, a good fit, that's universal, that can fit all head sizes, and use that as your pattern. Don't go measuring and sketching. You can skip that step, okay? You don't have to do that. And I know a lot of people that have went to school to be a seamstress fashion designer, they're gonna eat me up for telling y'all to do that, but hey, it's the same results. Don't let them lie to you. When it comes to making a hat, if it's just a basic beanie, you're gonna get the same result. Go buy you a beanie from the dollar store, or grab your favorite beanie that you've been wearing all winter and use that. You wanna take the beanie, or whichever shape you're gonna make, and you're gonna lay that on top of your piece of paper. I don't have the paper right here because, as you can see, I already did this step. You're gonna take, let's see. I'm gonna act like this is the paper. You're gonna lay the paper down, and you're gonna take your beanie that you already have, or your pattern. I'm not telling you not to make a pattern, but if you don't know how to make a pattern, you can still be a fashion designer if you don't know how to make patterns. Trust me, I just learned how to make patterns and I'm not even perfect at it yet. So take your paper, take your shape, your beanie, whatever, lay it on top of the paper. You're gonna trace out the shape. Now this has to be neat because it has to be accurate so it can fit accurately. Trace out the shape with a pencil or pen. Cut the shape out. And you're gonna do the same thing we did with the letters. You're gonna take the fabric that you're using for your hat, not your letters, but your hat. Lay it flat on a table. Lay your pattern, shape, beanie on top of the fabric. And then you're gonna cut that shape out with, you can either put the beanie on top of the fabric or trace the beanie shape on a piece of paper and then put the piece of paper on top of the fabric. I recommend you trace the shape of the beanie on a piece of paper first, cut out the paper, and then place that shape on top of your fabric. Then you're gonna cut it out and you're gonna get something that looks like this, okay? Now, remember earlier when I told you when you're cutting out your letters, you wanna make sure that you cut on the less stretchier side. Why? Because when you sew these letters on, it's a possibility that the letters may look distorted if you're not an experienced sewer. The letters may appear to be distorted. If it's stretchy, you're going to be able to, like, when you're sewing and it's going to stretch and it's going to look crazy if you don't know what you're doing. I know what I'm doing, so it don't matter. But with the hat, the actual hat is different. You want to cut the stretchiest way, possible. So if you got 4-way fabric for the hat part, not the letters, but just for the hat, perfect, okay? If you have a 2-way stretch like I do, as you can see, it's not that stretchy this way, but if I come pull it this way, it's very, very stretchy. This is the side, this is the way you want to cut it. So you take your stretchy side, stretch it out to make sure this is the one. And you want to lay it in front of you as is, like that. And then, let's see. You're going to take your scissors. Make sure you line everything up perfectly, because this part do have to be perfect or it's not going to fit. And then you cut out the shape of your hat. You're going to need to cut out 2 pieces. One for the front, one for the back. 2 pieces. This is a hat cut in half. This is only 1/2 of the hat. Cut out 2 of these. I'll be back to show you the result of that. I had to take a little food break. I'm making a seafood boil, so I gotta hurry up and finish this because I'm hungry. Okay, so I laid the letters out on one side of my hat, and I pinned them with these little pins right here. You can find these at Walmart, Joann Fabrics, Amazon, any craft store, Michael's, pretty much any craft store should have these. And these are the pins that I used. And I just pinned my letters down in the correct space and spot that you want them to be in. I recommend you using 2 pins per letter. I use 1 because, like I said, I've been doing this, so I pretty much have a feel for like exactly how to do it. But I recommend you, if it's your first time, to use 2 pins per letter. That way, when you go to sew, which is the next step and the last step, when you go to sew down your letters, sorry y'all, my daughter says, when you go to sew down your letters, it will not shift. The letters won't move around and shift around as you're sewing. That's the most annoying part about this, is because like you can do every step right, but when it comes down to sewing, you gotta move slow, okay? Please don't fly by and sew these on fast, because you're gonna end up with crooked letters and then you have an attitude. Don't get mad at me because I told you to slow your butt down, okay? So I'm gonna go switch over the scenery to my sewing machine, and I'm gonna sew these letters down. Of course, I might not show you guys that part. I don't know. Maybe I'll do a little time lapse so you guys can see the process of me doing it, but it's a very tedious process, so you have to be careful and just please be careful and move slow, okay? I'll be back. Okay, I'm at my sewing machine table. Yes, my sewing machine table is a mess. It's all scratched up and all type of stuff. Ignore that. I have the Brother sewing machine, computerized sewing. It costed around, let's see, $300, I believe, at Joann Fabric. I got it around Christmas, so I did get a discount. Like I said, I was employed at Joann, so I did get 2 discounts on top of the price. So this is my machine. It's computerized. Honestly, this is the closest machine you're going to get to an industrial, and I want y'all to stop using like certain machines that you know is going to jam up on you. Brother is an amazing brand. Brother is my favorite sewing machine brand. Hey Brother, send me some stuff. I would love to work with you. I love your company. Your machines are amazing and they move like butter, and they're my favorite. This is the machine I have. You don't have to have a fancy sewing machine. As long as the sewing machine can straight stitch, you're good. Now, if you're using this Sherpa fabric, the furry fabric, it's hard to use a machine that does not have a fast power setting on there. Even though I told y'all to go slow, you still need to have a sewing machine that has the capability of moving fast, because I find those machines to have more of a heavy duty hold to them, so that when you sew your fabric, I'm gonna try to put this the best way I can. When you sew your fabric, it won't get tangled up and caught up if your machine is like, you know, a little old machine. Now, I did start off with just a basic machine, and it was a little difficult, but like I said, if you move slow, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. That's only with this fur fabric. If you have knit fabric or fabric that has a flat surface, you're fine. But with this furry fabric, you should use a heavy duty sewing machine like this one. But if you don't have it, don't panic. You can still get it done. Just move slow so your thread won't break and your machine won't break, and so it won't, you know, jam. I have red thread. I'm just doing a tutorial and I'm not selling this hat. I might just wear this hat. So I am not going to change my thread to white, but you want to change your thread top and bottom to match your colors. Like if you're doing this color scheme, you want to change your top thread to white. But like I said, I'm just doing this for educational purposes only. So I'm not going to just, you know, change my thread because I really don't care. I'm going to sew these letters on. I'm going to try to set up my camera so you guys can see. So yeah, I'll be back. Okay, now of course I'm recording with my front camera, so the letters are going to look backwards, but forgive me for that. I'll show you the end results and I'll put it on my head and try it on for you. Now I know what you're thinking. It looks a mess. Remember what I told you from the beginning of the video. It's not going to look perfect until you're all the way 100% done. The next step is going to be, like as you can see on the back, that shows how the letters really going to look. So the next step, we're almost done. We're almost done. The next step is to cut off all of the extra excess thread and trim down the letters. Now, if you're using regular fabric, you don't have to trim the letters down. All you have to do is just clean up your work, which is cutting off these excess strings from the front and from the back. Since I'm using Sherpa fur fabric, I have to trim it or else it's gonna look like a shaggy dog. Like it's gonna look a mess. If I don't trim this up, it's gonna look a mess. So I have to give each and every individual letter a haircut. How do I do that? I slowly trim around the edges, slowly trim around the edges of each letter. Make sure I get the holes of each letter, and then I'm going to take, see, how can I put this camera? I'm going to cut the actual fur, but like the very tips of each letter, the fur, but the very tips of each letter. Kind of like when you're clipping your ends on your hair, it's the same thing as this. I'm going to clip the ends, so it's the very tip, very, very teeny tip. You see where my scissor is hovering over? Little trim, just like that. Okay, I'll do that. I'll be right back. All right, and the letters are all trimmed up. I know that looks way better. I have to shake this to get the excess fabric off. That's why I still kind of look fuzzy. I'm sorry, y'all. Hold on. You can do whatever you want with these hats. This one's very old, but you get the picture.